Hello, my friend. Today I want to tell you a special story. It is a story to help you learn English. But more than that, it is a story to help your heart. The name of this story is A Simple Dream. Why? Because even a small dream can change a life. But remember, no dream is free. You must work hard. You must try again and again. And you must believe in yourself. Jake was 20 years old. He lived in a small town in the United States. The town was quiet, with mountains around it. Jake lived with his parents and little sister. His family did not have much money. His dad fixed cars. His mom cleaned houses. They worked hard every day. Jake loved his family. He wanted to help them. He had a dream. A big dream. Jake wanted to open his own restaurant one day. He wanted to be a great businessman. He wanted to cook food that made people smile. But dreams are not easy. Dreams are not free. And Jake didn't know how to start. He had no money, no job. Only a dream. But sometimes a dream is enough to begin. Jake's family was poor, but they were strong. His father, Tom, worked in a garage. He fixed old cars and changed tires. He came home with dirty hands, but a warm smile. Jake's mother, Lisa, cleaned houses. She worked for many families. She carried heavy bags, scrubbed floors, and made beds. She was always tired, but she never complained. Jake also had a little sister named Emma. She was 10 years old. She loved drawing and reading books. To Emma, Jake was a hero. She believed he could do anything. Every evening, they ate dinner together. It was a simple meal, but they laughed and talked. They didn't have much, but they had love. Jake looked at his family and thought, I want to give them a better life. They deserve more. But how do I start? One night, Jake sat outside his small house. It was cold. The wind blew through the trees. He wore his old jacket and looked up at the stars. Everything was quiet, but Jake's heart was loud. He thought about his dream again. He said softly, I want to help my family. I want to make their life better. But I don't know how. He looked at the dark sky. The stars were bright. He closed his eyes and made a promise. I will find a way, he whispered. I don't know how yet, but I will work hard. I will not give up. In that moment, something changed. It was still cold. He still had nothing, but he had hope. And hope is where dreams begin. The next morning, Jake sat with his dad, Tom. They drank coffee together. Jake looked serious. Dad, he said, I want to do something big. I want to start a business one day. I want to help our family. Tom put down his cup and smiled. That's a good dream, he said. But Jake, dreams are not free. Jake listened carefully. His dad continued, If you want something, you have to fight for it. Nothing good comes easy. You must start small. Use what you have. Do what you can. Jake nodded. His dad wasn't rich, but he was wise. Those words stayed in Jake's mind. Start small, use what you have. Jake thought, maybe I can start today, even if it's small. That afternoon, Jake walked around town. He watched people go in and out of stores. Some were buying food. Others were just passing by. Then he noticed something. There was no bakery nearby. People in town loved fresh bread, but they had to drive 20 minutes to get it. Old people and busy moms didn't always have time. Jake thought to himself, what if I bring fresh bread here? What if I sell it near the park? His heart started to beat faster. It was just a simple idea, but it felt right. Then he frowned. There was one big problem. Jake didn't have any money. He couldn't buy the bread to sell it. Still, he had an idea. A bold one. Maybe he could talk to the bakery owner. Maybe, just maybe, the owner would give him a chance. The next morning, Jake woke up early. He put on his best shirt, even though it was old. He walked out the door and started his journey. The bakery was far, about 5 miles away, but Jake didn't care. He walked with purpose. He had no money, but he had a plan. When he reached the bakery, he saw an old man behind the counter. His name was Mr. Carter. He had gray hair and strong hands. He didn't smile much. Jake walked up and said, "Good morning, sir. My name is Jake." Mr. Carter looked at him and said, "What do you need?" Jake took a deep breath. "I want to sell your bread in my town. People there love bread, but your shop is too far. I don't have money to buy it now, but I promise to sell it and bring the money back in 1 week." It was a big ask. Jake waited for the answer. Mr. Carter looked at Jake for a long moment. His eyes were serious. He didn't trust people easily. "You want me to give you bread," he said slowly, "but you have no money." Jake nodded. "Yes, sir. I understand it's a risk, but I will work hard. I will sell the bread, and I will come back in 1 week to pay you. Please give me one chance." Mr. Carter said nothing at first. He looked out the window. Then he looked back at Jake. "You seem honest," he said. "You seem hungry, not for food, but for a better life." Jake stood still. He didn't beg, he just waited. Finally, Mr. Carter said, "All right, I'll give you enough bread for 1 week. But listen, if you don't bring my money back, never come here again." Jake smiled wide. "Thank you, sir. I won't let you down." His journey had just begun. The next morning, Jake woke up very early. It was still dark outside. He picked up the bread from Mr. Carter's bakery. He carried it in a big cloth bag. It was heavy, but Jake didn't care. He walked all the way back to town, with hope in his heart. When he reached the town square, he found a spot near the park. He stacked some boxes and placed the bread on top. It wasn't a real stand, but it was good enough for now. Jake stood tall and smiled. He called out, "Fresh bread! Warm and soft! No need to travel far. It's right here." At first, people walked past him. They weren't sure. They had never seen him sell anything before. Some looked, some smiled, but they didn't buy. Jake didn't give up. He took a few pieces of bread and cut them. "Free sample," he said kindly. "Try before you buy." An old woman stopped and took a bite. Her eyes lit up. "This is good bread," she said. Jake smiled and thanked her. Then a man with 2 kids came over. They tried the samples too. Soon he bought 2 loaves. Finally, fresh bread close to home, the man said. More people started coming. Jake's energy and smile made them feel welcome. He spoke to everyone kindly. "Have a great day," he said to each customer. By the end of the afternoon, all the bread was gone. Jake counted the money. It wasn't much, but it was enough. More than anything, it was a start. That evening, Jake walked back to the bakery. Mr. Carter was surprised to see him so soon. Jake handed him the money. "Here's your payment, sir. Just like I said." Mr. Carter nodded slowly. "You kept your word," he said. "Come back tomorrow." From that day on, Jake had a new routine. Every morning, he woke up before the sun. He walked to the bakery, picked up the bread, and returned to town with a big smile on his face. He set up his little stand near the same park bench. Each day, he greeted people kindly. "Good morning! Fresh bread today!" Children waved at him. Old women brought coins in small bags. Even busy workers stopped to grab a loaf. Jake worked in the rain. He worked in the cold. No matter the weather, he was there. At night, he came home tired. But he was happy. He told stories to Emma about kind customers. Lisa gave him tea. Tom patted his shoulder and said, "You're building something, son." Jake didn't make much money, but he was learning something more important. How to serve others, how to show up every day, and how to grow, one loaf at a time. After a few weeks, Jake noticed something amazing. People weren't just buying. They were coming back. Some even waited at the park before he arrived. They said, "Jake's bread is the best in town." Jake saved every extra dollar he made. He didn't buy new clothes or eat at restaurants. Instead, he had one goal: grow his little business. After 2 months of selling, he had enough money to buy a small cart. It had 2 wheels and a wooden top. He painted it blue and wrote in white letters, "Jake's Fresh Bread." With the cart, he could carry more loaves. He didn't need to use boxes anymore. People noticed the change. "Wow, your business looks great," one woman said. Jake smiled and replied, "Thank you. It's just the beginning." His dream was still small, but now it had wheels. One afternoon, a man in a suit stopped by Jake's cart. He bought 2 loaves of bread and smiled. "You're a great seller, Jake," he said. "Have you ever thought about baking the bread yourself?" Jake blinked. "No, sir. I've never baked before." The man nodded. "Well, if you bake, you'll make more profit. Right now, you buy and sell. But if you make your own, the business is truly yours." After the man left, Jake stood there thinking. Baking his own bread? It sounded amazing, but also scary. He thought, what if I fail? What if I waste ingredients? What if people don't like my bread? That night, he couldn't sleep. He looked at his little notebook and wrote, "New goal, learn to bake." Then he wrote underneath, "Nothing is free, not even knowledge." The next morning, after paying for the week's bread, Jake looked at Mr. Carter and took a deep breath. "Sir," he said, "I have a question. Can you teach me how to bake?" Mr. Carter raised an eyebrow. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Why would I do that? If you bake, you won't buy from me anymore." "That's bad for my business." Jake nodded. "I understand, sir, but you gave me my first chance. I will never forget that. If I succeed, I promise to help your bakery, too." Mr. Carter looked into Jake's eyes. He saw something there: honesty, respect, hunger to learn. He crossed his arms and said, "Baking isn't easy. It takes time, patience and hard work. You'll make mistakes. You'll want to quit." Jake answered, "I'm ready. I want to learn." Mr. Carter gave a short smile. "Be here tomorrow, 3 a.m. Don't be late." The next day, Jake arrived at the bakery before 3 a.m. It was dark. The street was quiet. Only the light from the bakery window was on. Inside, Mr. Carter was already working. He handed Jake an apron and said, "Let's begin." First, Jake learned how to mix the ingredients: flour, water, salt, and yeast. Then he learned how to knead the dough with his hands. It looked easy, but it was hard. His arms got tired fast. The dough stuck to everything. Next, he learned how to wait. The dough needed time to rise. Jake didn't know baking took so much patience. They put the dough in the oven. The smell was amazing. But when the bread came out, it was too hard. Jake looked sad. Mr. Carter said, "First tries are never perfect. Try again tomorrow." Jake was tired. His hands hurt. But he said quietly, "I'll be here. I'll keep trying." For the next few days, Jake kept coming to the bakery. Every morning at 3 a.m., he mixed, kneaded, and baked. But each time, something went wrong. One day, the dough didn't rise. The next, the bread was too soft inside. Another time, it burned. Jake felt tired. His hands were sore. His back hurt. And worst of all, he felt like a failure. One morning, after ruining another batch, he sat on a stool in the corner. He looked down at the burnt loaf and sighed. "Maybe I'm not good at this," he whispered. "Maybe I should stop." But then he remembered something, his father's words. "Dreams are not free." Jake stood up slowly. He looked at the oven, then at Mr. Carter. "I'm not giving up," he said. "Each mistake teaches me something. I'll keep going." Mr. Carter smiled. "Now you sound like a baker." The next morning, Jake came to the bakery with new energy. He washed his hands, tied his apron, and smiled. Today felt different. He mixed the flour and water carefully. He measured everything twice. He kneaded the dough with steady hands. Not too fast, not too slow. Mr. Carter watched him quietly. When the dough was ready, they let it rise. Then they shaped it and placed it into the oven. This time the smell was warm and rich. When the bread came out, the crust was golden brown. Mr. Carter picked it up, cut a slice, and tasted it. He chewed slowly, then looked at Jake. "This is good," he said. "Really good. You've done it." Jake's eyes lit up. He felt something he hadn't felt before. Pride in his own creation. He shook Mr. Carter's hand and said, "Thank you, sir. This is just the beginning." Now Jake was ready to bake on his own. Jake didn't waste time. He saved money and rented a small oven for his kitchen. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. His mom, Lisa, helped clean the space. His sister, Emma, decorated the counter with little drawings. They made the kitchen feel warm and full of love. That night, Jake baked his first batch of bread at home. He worked late, mixing and kneading by himself. The smell filled the house. Lisa made him a cup of tea. Emma helped pack the bread into paper bags. "Your bread smells better than the bakery's," Emma said. Jake laughed. Maybe one day people will say that too. The next morning, Jake sold the bread from his cart. People were surprised. "This is even better than before," one man said. "What's your secret?" a woman asked. Jake smiled. "Made at home, made with heart." His small dream was growing, loaf by loaf. After a few weeks, Jake had another idea. He thought, what if I make more than just bread? People love sweets too, cookies, muffins, pastries. He went to the library and borrowed books about baking. He watched videos online late at night. He wrote notes, tested recipes, and tried again and again. Some cookies were too salty. Some muffins didn't rise. But little by little, things got better. One morning, he added a new sign to his cart: fresh bread and homemade treats. People noticed right away. Kids came running for chocolate chip cookies. Mothers bought muffins for breakfast. Even older men smiled when tasting the cinnamon rolls. Jake's little cart was now full of colors, smells, and joy. His customers said, "Jake, your stand is the best part of our morning." Jake thanked them, but in his heart he thought, this is only the beginning. One day, something unexpected happened. A new bakery opened in town. It was big, colorful, and full of lights. The owner was a young man named Ethan. He wore nice clothes and had lots of staff. His shop looked modern and fancy. The windows were full of beautiful cakes and decorated pastries. People were curious. They stopped by to look. Then they started buying. Jake noticed the change right away. Fewer people came to his cart. Sales dropped. Some old customers said, "We'll try the new place." Jake felt a cold fear in his chest. What if I lose everything, he thought. I worked so hard for this. That night, he sat at the kitchen table in silence. Emma looked at him and asked, "Are you okay, Jake?" He looked up and said softly, "I think I need to get better." The next day, Jake walked to Ethan's bakery. He didn't go to buy anything, he went to learn. He looked at the window displays. So clean, so bright. He saw cakes with flowers, cookies in boxes, and signs with beautiful writing. Then Jake went back to his cart. He looked at it carefully. It was simple, even plain. I don't need to copy Ethan, he thought, but I can improve my own way. He asked his customers, "What do you like about the new bakery?" "What can I do better?" They answered honestly. "Ethan's place looks modern. His cakes have nice designs. Your bread tastes better, but his shop feels special." Jake took notes. Then he got to work. He painted his cart. He added colorful signs and little lights. He printed labels for each item. He even watched videos on how to decorate cupcakes. Day by day, his stand became more beautiful, and more people returned. One evening, just before closing, an elderly woman came to Jake's cart. She held a warm muffin in her hand and smiled. She said, "I've lived in this town for 40 years. I've seen many young men give up when things got hard. But not you, Jake. You stayed. You worked. You got better. That's why we trust you." Jake felt his eyes sting, not from sadness, from pride. Respect, he realized, was not something you could buy. You earn it by showing up, by trying, and by never quitting. That night, he walked home with Emma. She held his hand and said, "You're my hero, Jake." He looked at her and smiled. "Not yet," he said, "but I'm getting closer every day." Months passed. Jake kept saving every dollar he could. He sold bread, muffins, cookies, even birthday cakes. He worked 6 days a week, and sometimes 7. He was tired, but he was happy. His dream was getting bigger. One morning, Jake saw a small shop for rent. It wasn't big, but it was bright and close to the park. He stood in front of it and thought, maybe this is the next step. That evening, he talked to his parents. I think it's time, he said. I want to open my own bakery. Tom smiled. Lisa hugged him. Emma jumped up and down. With help from his family and some of his savings, Jake rented the shop and painted the sign, Jake's Fresh Bakes. He put flowers by the window. He cleaned the floor and set up shelves. It wasn't fancy, but it was full of heart. And on opening day, he stood at the door with a smile, ready for a new chapter. One stormy night, after closing the shop, Jake was cleaning the kitchen. Rain tapped the windows. The wind howled outside. Then, a strange smell. Smoke. Jake turned quickly and saw flames near the oven. A towel had fallen onto the stove and caught fire. He didn't panic. He grabbed a bucket of water and threw it at the fire. He used another towel to stop the flames. Finally, it was out, but the damage was done. The oven was burned. The walls were black. The floor was covered in ash. Jake sat on the ground, breathing hard. His heart hurt more than his hands. This is bad, he whispered. Really bad. The next morning, people in town heard about the fire. Some came to check on him. A few whispered, maybe this is the end for Jake. But Jake stood outside his shop and said, no, this is just another test. I've started from nothing before. I'll do it again. Jake sat down that night with a pen and paper. He made a list of everything he needed to fix the shop. A new oven, new paint, new tools. Then he looked at his savings. It wasn't enough. Not even close. For a moment, fear returned. But then he remembered. Don't wait to be saved. Help yourself first. So Jake did something brave. He went back to Mr. Carter, the man who gave him his first chance. Sir, Jake said, I need advice. If your shop burned down, what would you do? Mr. Carter looked at him and smiled. I'd do exactly what you're doing now. I'd stand up, look forward, and get back to work. Jake nodded. He walked home thinking hard. The next day, he told his customers, my bakery is damaged, but I won't stop. Even if I bake from home, I will keep serving you. And something amazing happened. When the people in town heard Jake's words, they felt something. They remembered his smile. They remembered how he worked in the rain, in the cold. They remembered how he never gave up. So one by one, they came to help. A baker offered Jake extra flour. A shopkeeper gave him a box of sugar. A mother donated her old mixer. A carpenter fixed his broken shelves for free. Even little Emma set up a jar that said, help Jake rebuild kids dropped in coins. Some gave dollars. Some gave just kind words. Jake looked around and felt full, not with money, but with gratitude. He had no big company, no big investors, but he had something better, people who believed in him. And that belief, it was powerful. Jake baked from home again. He sold what he could. He saved every penny. And slowly, brick by brick, he rebuilt his bakery. After many long weeks of hard work, the bakery was ready. Fresh paint covered the walls. The oven was new and strong. There were flowers in the window again. Jake looked around his shop and smiled. It wasn't just a bakery anymore. It was a symbol of hope. On reopening day, people lined up outside, children held cookies, neighbors hugged each other. Even Mr. Carter stood in the back with quiet pride. Then something special happened. The mayor arrived. He shook Jake's hand and said, "Jake, you are a true inspiration to this town. You didn't give up. You worked hard. You helped others. You've shown us that anything is possible with heart." Jake stood at the counter. He looked at the people, his people, and he said, "Thank you for believing in me. This shop is not just mine, it's ours. And I promise to keep going." That day, Jake didn't just reopen a business. He reopened a dream, stronger than ever. Jake's Bakery became more than just a place to buy bread. It became a place full of warmth, smiles, and stories. People from nearby towns came just to meet the boy who never gave up. He added new items to the menu: cupcakes, muffins, and even birthday cakes. Emma helped decorate. Lisa managed the money. Tom fixed anything that broke. Jake's dream had come true. But it didn't end there. He started teaching other young people how to bake. He said, "If I can do it, so can you." One day a student asked him, "Jake, what's the secret?" Jake smiled and said, "There's no secret. Just remember this. Nothing in life is free. Not success, not respect, not love. You must earn it with effort, patience, and heart." Then he looked at the boy and added, "And when life gets hard, don't stop. Every challenge is just one step closer to something greater." And so the little shop with the blue sign kept growing, not just with bread, but with courage, kindness, and dreams that refused to die.